Before you go any further with this episode, you need to know it is not kid-friendly, so if they're in the car with you, this is not the one. In this episode, we're talking about powerful people in the real estate industry who have sexually harassed, assaulted, and trafficked women. A state association leader with a civil trial coming up and allegations spanning 2 decades. A national association president who resigned in disgrace. Luxury brokers convicted of federal sex trafficking. And a real estate professional charged in a child sexual exploitation case, while people all around them allegedly said nothing. So if these are sensitive topics for you, we suggest you sit this one out and we'll see you next week. But if not, it's time to talk about it. Welcome to Real Estate Called Out.
Don't stumble. Big talk, bad move, my show, my rules, tap in, stay tuned.
We were going to skip this week. It's spring break, the kids are at home. We have a new puppy who, bless his heart, does not give a shit about going outside to shit. So it's been a lot. So technically this was supposed to be a week off, but then my inbox happened quite frequently over the past week. And look, one of the things I'm genuinely proud of on this show, on Housing Rebel, Selling Later, is the active boots on the ground that we talk to on the daily. The people who send us things, the agents, the insiders, the consumers, the people who have been sitting on something for years and finally found somewhere to send it. The intel we get is real, it's raw, and lately it's been relentless. The past few weeks, I have gotten alert after alert after alert about the absolute state of accountability, or actually the total absence of it, in the real estate industry. Part of what's been fueling this episode is the fact that we have been knee-deep in real estate violation data because we're building the Watchdog tool for consumers to go in and type any company name, any agent, and see if there's anything they should be warned about. The state of New Jersey had just 4 violations posted publicly for the entire year of 2025. The whole year for the entire state. So either New Jersey has the most ethical real estate professionals in America, which if Hollywood has told me anything, that is not likely, or someone decided that public doesn't need to know what's happening. Florida, that state just stopped posting violations after June of last year. Just stopped. No explanation, no update, and now we have to send a request for information to get July through today. So we've been building a Watchdog tool to help consumers actually find this information quicker, faster, and really explain why this person got in trouble. Here's what you should look out for if you work with this company. And we'll drop those links in the show notes, but today is not about the tools we're building, although I would love it to be because it sure takes a long time to build them. Today is about the rot, about a culture that has decided that power, position, and production numbers are a shield. That if you're connected enough, important enough, bring in enough business, the rules don't apply to you. And today we're calling that out directly. Something that landed in my inbox a few weeks ago was a change.org petition to remove the CEO of a state realtor organization. This public petition calling for this man's resignation has been live since September of 2023, and this man is apparently still in the exact same role. The petition is not vague. It documents a history going back to 2007, when an outside attorney was hired to investigate complaints about inappropriate sexual advances towards staff. The investigator found evidence of misconduct, and the findings went to state and national leadership. But somehow this man, through all of that, kept his job. There was an alleged payout and an NDA signed. But then in 2022, a civil lawsuit was filed by an employee alleging sexual harassment, sexual assault, and a hostile work environment. Originally, there were 6 other people who also had complaints, and allegedly that number grew to 19 or more. That civil trial is now just going to court this October. So a civil lawsuit was filed in 2022, a petition that has been up and unchanged for 3 years, but somehow this man is just still holding on to his position. So let me ask the question that everybody in this state has apparently been too polite, too scared to ask out loud. And that is, who is protecting this man? Because allegedly this goes way deeper than just an association level. So you have to ask, who is sitting in these board meetings, hearing these allegations, and deciding that their relationships matter more than the safety of the women who had to work for him. Because the track record goes back almost 20 years, and we're still in the same position. But let's go a little bit bigger. In August of 2023, the sitting president of the National Association of Realtors resigned. Just 2 days after the New York Times published detailed accounts from current and former NAR employees describing a pattern of harassment, improper touching, explicit messages, and a culture where people were afraid to speak up. And when I tell you that the author of that article told me herself that she had to take 2 weeks off because of how bad this association tried to squash the story, you would not believe it. Now, in the mix of this also was a woman who got fired who was allegedly having an affair with this president. And I wish I had the exact quotes from the articles I remember seeing when this all first went down. Because in my opinion, the Realtor Association tried to play it as they were on his side, that they're going to investigate to make sure they get all the correct details. This opened a can of worms about how women are treated in this industry, even though it is a majority female-dominated industry. The woman in which he had an alleged affair with sued NAR and eventually settled out of court. And I applaud her for being brave enough to take on an industry who even made a New York Times reporter take a vacation after just trying to share the truth in a woman's story. So after this man was resigned, I almost said fired, resigned, his successor stood up and said all the right things about rebuilding trust and creating a safe culture. And then, because this industry loves nothing more than a quiet second act, we recently heard this week that one person very connected to this story has just been welcomed back into a board position for a state association. No real consequences, no reckoning, just a brief, uncomfortable hiatus, and then back to business as usual. But let's step away from the horrible sexual harassment and talk about racism for a second. Because last month, a Florida real estate agent posted violent content online targeting Muslims and Democrats. One included imagery of a hunting badge for Muslims. And if that wasn't bad enough, they then posted on March 23rd that, quote, "It appears Democrats have interbred with Muslims. Time to exterminate." At the time, this agent worked for Coldwell Banker, who dropped her. But guess what happened on April 7th? RE/MAX picked her up. So by the time Coldwell Banker dropped her and RE/MAX picked her up, it was about a week. That's how long it took for another major real estate brand to look at that content, look at what she said, forget everything that has to do with fair housing or treating people equally, and hired her. Now, I looked at this person's sales numbers. They weren't major, but they're enough. And she has deals currently out there. And sometimes, I don't know if it's the case for this, but your production numbers matter more than your behavior and your actions. But until brokerages feel real, lasting consequences for decisions like that, and until agents refuse to hang their license with places who support people like that, and until consumers know enough to walk away, it will keep happening. Because in this industry, apparently, production buys immunity. In March of 2026, the Alexander brothers were convicted on all counts in federal court in Manhattan. Sex trafficking by force, fraud, coercion. And one of the brothers was additionally convicted of sexually exploiting a minor with video evidence. 19 straight guilty verdicts. But did you know at one point these were two of the most celebrated luxury real estate brokers in the country? Celebrity clients, industry awards, magazine profiles. They brokered one of the most expensive residential sales in U.S. history. And they had a playbook over a decade. More than 60 women lured with private jets, luxury getaways, and then drugged and assaulted them. But here's the line from the coverage that should haunt every single person in this industry. Their conduct was described as an open secret in the world of real estate. An open secret. People knew, people looked away, and people protected their referral relationships and their commission splits and their invitations to the right events. People heard things and decided it wasn't their problem. When you know and you say nothing, you are part of the machine and part of the problem. And then there's South Carolina, which is the ugliest of the stories I have seen so far. This one was the most recent one landed in my inbox, and it's the hardest one to talk about. In November of 2025, a VP of a brokerage, a well-known brokerage, was arrested in Fort Lauderdale on federal charges of conspiracy to receive and distribute child pornography. He was charged alongside a former Charleston County magistrate. And court documents allege these two men bonded over shared criminal desires, and that those interests involved the abuse of children. And the scariest part of when this landed in my inbox is, according to this person, people in that professional world knew something was wrong and no one said anything. I'm being precise about this because it's still an active case and I don't want to get ahead of the facts, but I'm not going to soften this part. This is about children allegedly being harmed and adults with information who did nothing. And might I add, to find much of anything about this case is not easy. I don't know if someone did some scrubbing. I have no idea, but you have to dig to find it. The culture of this industry is don't ask, don't tell, protect the producer, don't make waves, don't make enemies. But if that culture kept anyone who knew about this story from making one phone call one day sooner to protect one child, I hope they lose sleep about that every single night. But here is what I need you to understand. These are not isolated incidents or one or two bad apples. Because every single time a story comes into my inbox, every time someone sends me an anonymous tip or pulls me aside at a conference that I barely ever attend and finally says the thing they've been holding on to for years, it comes with the same footnote. We all knew. He was protected. She was untouchable. You don't understand who she knows on the board. He brings in too much business. No one's going to say anything. I tried to report it and nothing happened every single time. This is, and always has been, a good old boys club. And the people at the top, the one who love their titles, their gavels, and their committee seats, too many of them have spent years confusing influence with invincibility. Mistaking the fact that people smile at them at conferences for the idea that they are beyond accountability. They are not. And to the consumers, if you're still listening, because I know this was a bit heavy, do your homework. Google the agent you're about to hire. Look at their actual social media, not their curated professional page, and check their license history. You can use our Watchdog tool to find any recent violations from most states. And we're also rolling out a good list of people that we have met in the industry that we would actually trust. Then I'll put both of those in the show notes to help you. And listen, most agents are genuinely good people, but you deserve to verify that for yourself. To those in the industry, file the complaint, call the ethics board, send us the tip. Stop deciding it's not your problem, because every time someone chooses silence, the next person gets hurt. And to those who think their position, their board seat, their title, or their production numbers are going to protect them, I want to be very clear about something. Outside of your little real estate bubble, nobody cares who you are. Your name on the regional board means nothing to a federal prosecutor. Your referral network will not show up for you when the civil trial starts. And the people who smiled at your awards dinners are not going to fall on the sword for you. And the industry that looked the other way for years will absolutely throw you under the bus the moment the spotlight gets too bright. Things catch up. They always will. We are watching, we are documenting, and we're talking about it publicly. That's Real Estate Called Out. Share this episode because it matters.
Don't stumble. Big talk, bad move, my show, my rules. Tap in, stay tuned. One shot, boom.